suck it up, this is happening, Buttercup. No government will ever admit defeat.
But you can kind of see the logic that they thought they'd got.
No.
It gets to that rev limiter quick. We're doing some miles an hour.
I'm late for work and my fuel light has just come on, so I'm going to be even later for work.
Episode 12. Can't believe we've got this far, Ack. If you're new to the channel, I'm Paul. Have a car channel called Live to Drive. This is Ack, my learned friend sitting opposite me, who puts up with me probably way more than he wants to, who's the bike person, and he has a channel called Ack Rides. Today, we're going to discuss Smart Motorways.
Jesus, don't fucking start. Sorry,
and in fact, on my list, it literally says, for today's video, Smart Motorways, discuss.
Oh my God, Smart Motorways, Christ almighty.
If you're not...
Sorry, I don't want to keep you interrupting. Whose bloody idea was that?
Yeah, where is he and can we lynch him?
Not so much that, but why did they think it was... I understand why they call it smart, because it's controlled electronically and there's certain things you can do with it, and you know, every now and then, what is it, 100 yards as a gantry or something that tells you...
I think it's like 100, 200, whatever yards of the camera that's keeping an eye on what's happening on the line, which we're going to discuss.
And then, so I understand why they call it smart, as in because it's like, you know, controlled by, you know, algorithms and whatever they're programmed to do, and slow down, speed up, and get off your phone, sort your life out, that sort of thing. But literally, it's not an intelligent thing at all to do.
You don't think? I think Ack has summarised the whole video there, which is good. So you're not necessarily a fan.
So thanks for watching and see you on the next one. I want to know, on a serious note,
Go on.
whether there's a little room somewhere, I'm guessing with very little light and no windows, of people who don't have the intelligence for public-facing political life. So they stick them in this little room and give them a remit, like, right, this week we want you to focus on...
And how to annoy the general public.
And it's just like, come up with something which we're going to be able to say that we've implemented, and aren't we so goddamn special? However, everyone out there who's actually got, a degree of common sense
intelligence
will think it's the most insane, ridiculous thing ever, and why the hell did you ever... Because we can say we're saving lives.
Isn't that called the job's worth? So, I'm going to start with some pros.
No,
just for the benefit of people that may be watching aren't.
I would arguably only say one. But go on, you first.
I'm going to say, for the benefit of people that aren't in the UK, what is a smart motorway? Because maybe
it's certainly not smart, that's for sure.
It's basically a way that you can gain a lane, ultimately by typically using the hard shoulder lane as a live lane, but having cameras to monitor it. I'm going to start with the pros, because there are 1, 2, or even 3 pros I've got on my
only
list.
one.
He's going to be hard to convince. The first one is, it does technically offer an increased capacity, because if you think of what would be involved to create an extra lane, otherwise it's all the construction work, you've got to take up even more land, and we all know that no matter how many lanes you put on a motorway, you'll fill it with traffic and then you're going to need more.
Only because everyone sits in the wrong lanes.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's cheaper than actually doing the construction. You've got something called variable speed limits, where I'm going to stick my neck above the parapet, whatever it's called, and say, used correctly, it could balance the flow of traffic.
Yeah, that's the only plus as far as I'm concerned.
So you do have variable speed limits. And of course, you're all moving in the same direction. If you're controlling the speed limits correctly and the traffic flow correctly, then theoretically less accidents.
And less congestion.
That's it for the pros. I was struggling to find any more pros.
Hang on, you said 3.
There
Extra
were 3.
lane.
Extra lane was 1.
Variable speed limit.
And fewer vehicle collisions.
Okay,
because
fine.
they're moving in the same direction. And the speed being
Well,
controlled.
I hope they're all moving in the same direction.
So, it's very easy just to say not many people like smart motorways. My understanding is every 100 yards, every 200 yards, whatever it is, I don't frankly care, there is a camera. And that camera, of course, is checking that the live lane can stay live, that there's nothing happened, there's not a vehicle broke down or whatever, where they have to shut the lane. One of the things I am aware of, because years ago I was sad enough to email the people that control these, because I was dissatisfied that I was stuck in traffic and the lane was closed, I received confirmation from the email to say that if a camera goes down, of course they can't tell whether it's safe or not. So if one camera goes down across this network, that section can no longer be used as a smart motorway. So of course, like most technology, it's good when it works.
No,
When
it's,
there's a
it's not even good.
When there's a problem, obviously it can't be used. There is a list of cons I've got here, but rather than me just riddle them off because I've got some notes, I want some off-the-cuff thoughts from Mr. Ack.
Yeah, I mean, I've got an issue with there not being a hard shoulder for safety reasons. But not only that, yes, it might be a smart meter, Jesus, smart motorway. And every now and then there'll be a red X saying, get out of the hard shoulder because something's happened. But that's going to cause even more congestion. Let me explain. They've got all, say it's a 3-lane carriageway with a hard shoulder on a smart motorway. But on this day, they've got all 4 lanes operational. Something happens in the hard shoulder stroke lane 1 or lane 0. Technically lane 1 is lane 1. So they put a red X there and they want everyone to move over into lane 1, right? However, somewhere on the hard shoulder, either smart lane, there'll be a broken down vehicle.
Yes.
With a backup of traffic and everyone going through on lanes 1, 2 and 3. Okay. Now all this traffic is going to have to somehow move out. And
you're saying that this traffic's now stationary and you're trying to move
So everything in the first lane, either smart lane, you could argue, not very smart, has to move into a live lane, now lane 1, 2 and 3, or lanes 1 and 2. But lanes 1 and 2 are travelling at approximately motorway speed, or if it's heavy traffic, that's doing at least 20 miles an hour. No one's going to let them out.
No.
That's the first issue. And second thing, it's going to cause more issues for however much that tailback is from that incident to move into a live lane. It's not smart on any goddamn level.
I knew Ack wouldn't be a fan. But then Ack is just speaking the voice of what most people probably think of smart motorways.
It's not smart at all.
I'm aware that the legislation, as far as I'm aware, because of the amount of problems they've had, and there has been lives lost, including emergency workers' lives lost, that they're not currently...
But it's okay because, you know, it was the government's idea, so, you know, it's acceptable.
Because it works.
Because the government know best.
In their opinion. So, the...
Government don't know... Oh, sorry, this is not a political programme. Moving on, sorry,
my
smart
understanding
motorways.
is that they're not currently debating removing any smart motorways.
But they're not going to have any more.
But they're not adding any more.
Yep.
Which kind of tells you everything
you need to know.
The smart motorway.
Jesus.
So, yeah, safety being number one, of course, and it is.
Sorry.
This is what you do.
Actually, I'm not sorry.
This is what you do.
Yeah. I want to know the people who thought this was a good idea. Surely there's a body of people. I'm hoping at least 10 people, and they've decided this will be a good idea, and they've done their due diligence. Did the majority in that group, assuming it was a majority and not somebody saying, I don't care, suck it up, this is happening, buttercup, which is probably the case because, you know, say no more, did they really think, from a safety point of view, this was a good idea? Really?
They obviously did. Or did they look at it from a...
They looked at it from they don't drive on motorways point of view, or they get chauffeured around everywhere point of view.
And if you think of the cost analysis of the construction of adding a lane versus adding some gantries and a row of cameras...
Yeah. Well, you could argue that you don't need any more lanes. You need people to drive properly.
And if you're not going to get that... You're not going to get that.
No, I agree. But
we're doing a future video about driving standards, so that'll be interesting.
Jesus.
Maybe we make that the next video. But in a perfect world, in a meeting room with their sandwiches, biscuits, and free coffee, it probably did seem a sensible idea.
Yeah.
But of course, in the real world, where the rest of us live...
Where all the people in that meeting were told in no uncertain terms by the person in charge or the powers that be that we've only done you to keep people happy, to say that we had a consultation, but it doesn't actually mean dick because we're going to do this anyway.
no matter what someone says.
Yeah, that's
That seems
probably
like a
reality
typical
of what happened.
government department to know. So I've put here, and it kind of covered it already. In the event of a breakdown or any incident, it doesn't have to be a breakdown, does it? It could be anything.
Yeah.
Any breakdown, any incident whatsoever that could happen in any lane. It doesn't happen. It doesn't need to be that they can get to the hard shoulder. I have seen incidences where a vehicle has stopped in lane
three, yeah. Hey.
So-
and you think, hang on a minute, hold on. Sorry to interrupt again. Unless it was a catastrophic
Yeah.
bang.
You need to get over.
Well, no, not so much you need to get over, but the wheels would keep turning even if you lost drive. If you had any sense and managed to put it into neutral, even if it's an automatic, you'd get some degree of warning and you'd be able to pull over.
Agreed.
But hey, yeah,
You're
fine.
relying on common sense there. But let's say, for instance, it's just a standard breakdown, a standard puncture, and you're able to get to the hard shoulder. Now, bearing in mind, on these smart motorways, and I can't remember the distances involved, maybe it's every mile, maybe it's every 2 miles, you have a refuse area, don't you, where there is an area that if you can get to it, you are safer. But let's assume that your puncture, your breakdown just doesn't happen to happen next to a refuse area. You are ultimately, initially, in a live lane. Because no matter how good the people are that are in this little dark room monitoring the cameras,
not very good.
you can't immediately switch off a lane.
No, you can't.
And much of the general public isn't always good at reacting to the red cross quick enough anyway.
I would say
Particularly
most of the general
if
public.
it was a live lane to start with and then you've just changed it to a red cross. So, and bearing in mind that those gantries with the red cross are only X amount of distance anyway, so you're going to cover some ground before you realise that the lane is closed. So all of a sudden, you've got a vehicle which, okay, in the UK, they, like many countries, I guess, they recommend that you get out the vehicle no matter what the weather's doing. You get the other side of the crash barrier if there is one, because ultimately staying with the vehicle is the most dangerous thing that it can be. And that's the case even if you've got a proper hard shoulder that's not being used as a live lane. It's just very, very, very dangerous.
Yep.
If I'm going to throw a question to you, and it's to do with emergency workers, which is right up your street, Mac. If we were to keep smart motorways, wouldn't one of the logical things be that in the event of an incident, in the event that you have to close a lane, can we not close that lane further back, or have a lane that's closed so that emergency vehicles can actually get there? Because of course, hard shoulders did serve another purpose.
Yeah.
When you have a proper hard shoulder, an emergency vehicle can go down the hard shoulder.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've taken that option away.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
So not only are you in a more sort of dangerous position
You have to wait longer now.
for the emergency vehicles. I thought maybe you'd agree with that one.
No, absolutely agree with it. I mean, I was on, I don't know which motorway it was on recently. Went somewhere with Mrs. Ack. Of course, my memory is so great, I don't remember which motorway we went. But the point is, it was starting to slow down a bit. And even though we were going about 30, 40 miles an hour, we had a handful of police vehicles just come hooning up the hard shoulder, because it would be easier for them to make better progress there than it would be going through.
I mean, I'm aware that they risk obviously picking up the debris that can cause punches and stuff, but ultimately you've got a lane that theoretically is clear.
Yeah.
Unless you get the odd muppet that tries to use a hard shoulder because they're stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
So we've said about the camera being down if the technology fails. We've said about emergency vehicles being able to have a lane that they can actually get to the incident in a timely manner. We've said about variable speed limits, but when used correctly, yeah, they probably do help with congestion. But I'm sure all of us, anyone watching this video, and please let me know in the comments that your thoughts on smart motorways, that we've had many incidents where you ultimately find nothing's happened, but you suddenly go from like a 70 to a 40, then maybe back to a 50, and then back to a 60 or a 70. I would argue that if there's no reason, maybe something's happened and they haven't changed the speed limits on the matrix, or whatever, causing people to, and let's be honest, not everyone slows down.
We're talking about the concertina effect.
Causing people to suddenly have to go down to 40, for instance, only to find 2 miles later that there's nothing happening.
5 miles back up the road, it's going to be stationary for 20 minutes.
So when we talk about reduced accidents, used correctly, I would agree.
Yeah,
But to suddenly go down speed and up speed and then occasionally back down speed.
I would argue they're not controlled by humans, or not real time, or there's too much of a delay.
Because I've always assumed that they probably are controlled by humans, but that maybe
Pass.
like most government departments, it's not manned sufficiently, and maybe they don't react as quickly.
Who
as we
knows?
like.
But they're not certainly not as efficient as it could be.
There's a section of the M42 which has got multiple gantries, of which every second or third gantry has got cameras. And that we're always told, and I have to assume that this is correct, that the cameras will react based on the speed limit that's shown on the matrix sign.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Well, here's the thing though, a lot of the times, if the gantry changes and you've got a speed limit with a red circle around it, it's mandatory. So you could argue yes. But when you've got advisories or just a figure up there without the red circle around
That's interesting to me, yeah.
it's not mandatory.
Well, not theoretically, it's just not mandatory.
It's not mandatory, which means you're not going to
Would
get...
they call that advisory?
Yeah, advisory. Advisories don't mean anything, whereas the mandatories, you know...
So let's say it's a mandatory then. I think there's based on what we've already said
yeah,
about...
I do. I always would, because I don't want to risk getting a ticket.
Yeah, because I think we've already said it. There's a distrust with the public anyway with smart motorways. I think it's fair to say, and you can let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Whereby, if it suddenly goes down to 40, for instance, as we've already said, and then you ultimately try and go nearer to 40, but you're just painfully aware that other vehicles may not do the same. When you find that there's nothing actually there, and then the sign goes back to 60, 70, or whatever it is, that there is a public distrust of, when you then approach the next one that takes you down to 50 or 40, do you bother? Do you do what many others do? Are we like lemmings and we just copy the person next to us? Because so often I will drift nearer to 40. I'm not going to say that I sit exactly at 40, but I do reduce the speed. You could say I'm using more caution, but you're very aware that there is much traffic that's ignoring
agreed.
that gantry sign.
If it's mandatory, and depending on how fast it is, I find that most will kind of go in line with it, but ordinarily people just completely ignore it, which is fine. You know, people can do what they want to do. They're responsible for their own actions. However, it makes it more dangerous for someone who does want to slow down, because they're going to end up with people being not very happy behind them.
Well, you're going to have vehicles coming up to you that are expecting you to be going quicker than you are. And I'm guessing that on a typical standard motorway that's not smart motorway, not you've got a hard shoulder, everything's standard, it's 70 miles an hour and you've got 3 lanes of live traffic. You could argue that you'd never want to see any vehicle doing 40 miles per hour. Because the difference between that and the current legislated speed limit is so great that you're asking for trouble.
Yep, absolutely.
You know, I'm sure all of us have got instances where you can remember coming up to a vehicle and thinking, you really are going slow considering that you're sitting on the motorway. Not because there's any matrix sign.
Just from a safety
just
point of view.
They just happen to go slow.
Yeah.
That then, of course, causes you to slow. You slowing causes, and then all of a sudden you get this bow wave effect, don't you? And that bow wave effect, of course, risks the accidents.
Yeah.
Because you'll have people that are sort of, they almost drive in a sort of telepathic automatic mode. They're probably checking the phone, which they shouldn't be. They're having a
doing the makeup.
They're having a conversation with their partner, whatever. You kind of, motorways are the safest part of the road network in the UK. The stats prove that they are.
Okay.
But, however, that does lull the average driver into a false sense of security that you're just going to continue at 70 miles an hour, when we've all seen that people get too close, someone reacts with the brake lights come on, the person behind doesn't necessarily know immediately how fast you're braking. They just know brake lights don't tell you how hard you're braking.
No.
Apart from the new ones that do flash.
But they only
flash
do
the
that.
hazard lights.
Correct me if I'm wrong. They only do that if you brake a
It's
certain
emergency
percentage
braking,
as
yeah.
you stand on the brakes.
Yeah, emergency braking.
Yeah.
So you get the bow wave effect, and that to me has to be one of the most obvious and risky things.
Yeah,
most
because a lot
likely
of people
thing to
go
cause-
barreling into it, not expecting it, and thinking
you
they're
think
only
that-
slowing down a little bit. Oh
Because you
shit,
think-
it's more than that.
Yeah, because you think the flow of traffic's doing 70 miles an hour. The worst case I probably have ever seen on that is particularly the ones that lane jump. So you'll get the one that thinks, oh, well, actually lane 2's now doing better than lane 3, or lane 1's now doing better than lane 3. That's fine, but what I've noticed it's certainly happened to me on a number of occasions. You can have lanes 1 and 2 moving quicker because we know a lot of people stay in the outside lane. You can have lanes 1 or 2 that are actually moving a little quicker, and then for whatever reason, something's happened in lane 3 that slows them down. But because the person driving in lane 3 is aware of you in lane 2 and lane 1 going at a certain speed, it's almost like they don't notice that their lane has suddenly become slower. And there's your risk, of course, because they're following, they're sort of tracking the speed that you're doing in lane 1 and 2, and all of a sudden there's something in front that's not going the same speed. So are we basically saying smart motorways are
CAC.
not smart motorways?
I would say they're pretty effing far
Do
away
you-
from being smart.
Do you think we'll ever get to a stage where the government admits complete defeat and actually
No,
undoes
no,
the
no.
infrastructure that they've done?
No government will ever admit defeat, period.
Even though people have lost lives?
Well, we have already lost lives, and have they turned around and said, "Oh, we made a mistake, we're going to undo it, redo it"? Have they? No, have they? But
I'm going to live in a naive world and hope that within the next 10 years they slowly just disappear.
I think they've started slowly disappearing now, purely by the fact that they're not going to do any more. So over time, when roads get upgraded, updated, or whatever, however,
You think that will just change as a
it
matter
just
of
happens
course?
through, what's the word I'm
Natural
looking for?
progression.
Attrition. They'll just disappear anyway, and will stop getting used as smart motorways. They're going to keep the hard shoulder as it is, make it a permanent hard shoulder, which is what they should be
But
doing
going
now
back to the very
anyway.
beginning of this video, you can almost, I'm not taking sides with them, whoever them are, but you can kind of see the logic that they thought they've got.
No.
Which was, well, I can, because what's a construction cost per mile to widen the
No,
motorway?
agreed. Okay,
Must be absolutely huge.
fine.
We're
But
not
it
like
would be a different story if
we're
it
not
is
like
one of their
China.
family members, or them, or their wife, partner, girlfriend, mother, daughter,
it
sister,
never seems to pan that way, though, does it?
who has lost their life because of
Exactly.
their stupid
But
goddamn
it
decision.
never pans that way, though, does it? So you've got China building, 1,000 miles of motorway every year or whatever, 1,000 miles of road network. We're not good at building full stop, let's be honest, and HS2 is I guess, evidence of that. So
Yeah, that was a cracking idea, wasn't it,
it's a
government?
cracking idea. We'll go from London to
Yeah.
Leeds, but already we're now only going from London to Birmingham. So, and it's going to cost extra at the moment. It's probably 3 or 4 times the cost. And by the time it's actually completed, it will be 10 times the cost or whatever. This didn't work with the smart motorway, did it? So I'm going to naively hope that the day will come when
They'll never put their hands up.
they're physically removed.
They may well remove them, and they will put comms out as to the reasons why they've decided to remove them, progress, X, Y, Z, but it will never, ever, well, they'll never, ever say
never
it's
admit fault.
because, yeah, exactly, they'll never admit a fault and we're doing it. No, they'll say because something better's happened, it's going to be better for this, better for that, not because they fucked up and have caused people to die.
But no business ever likes to admit fault on anything, do they? There'll always be a pink and fluffy statement.
Well, yeah, but there's like making a mistake, poor business decisions, and then there's costing lives. There's a massive difference between the two as far
of
as I'm
course there is.
concerned.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it absolutely has cost lives. We have to caveat that with the fact that lives have been lost on a proper hard shoulder.
Agreed.
I happen to personally know someone who had his legs crushed that worked for the RAC because the vehicle that he was attending to got rear-ended. So
No, I agree. But the
these
point
things
is,
happen.
yeah, they do happen, but a hard shoulder, how do I put this?
It needs to remain.
It needs
An
to remain
emergency
because
line.
taking it away makes it almost inevitable there's going to be an incident.
So motorways were first designed. The M1 was starting to be
No
built.
speed limit.
Yeah, but that's
Was
very
that
true.
1965?
Probably. So think of it. First one, they obviously decided hard shoulder was a good thing.
Yeah.
And you know we sometimes say technology improves everything, but not at the expense of stopping something that worked fine before it. Hard shoulder worked. You've basically got an area of safety, relative safety,
yeah.
at all times across most of the motorway network. and a lane that emergency vehicles can use.
Yep.
And we've lost that on every inch of smart motorway that we've currently got.
It would be interesting to know whether, because I certainly haven't looked into this, shocker, the national UK motorway network is X miles long.
Yep.
How many of those miles are smart as a percentage?
Good question. I'll put it at the bottom of the video now.
Yeah, because it'll be interesting to know how much they've completely, quite frankly, effed up.
Ruined
beyond
the
all
motorway system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But they haven't had to build all that.
I don't care.
The M1, Derbyshire onwards, has had a massive widening programme. Okay, massive, which has become smart as well, mind you. I'm sure it has. That would have cost an absolute fortune, of course, because you're taking up additional land, all the construction work. We all know they like to have a cup of tea. We all like to know that they're not necessarily working on it. It's not like building a road in Japan or China, is it?
No.
So at the end of the day,
Not at all.
it does cost a lot more. But like you've said, you can't put a price on
Human
the cost
life.
of human life.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, everyone. That one's a bit of sort of a rant video, but stick with us. Plenty more videos to come.